to episode 71 of the Circle Back podcast, the show where three great friends get together and just talk about video games. I'm Dan Lamarca. As always, I'm joined by Dan Dufresnoy.
Dan, how you doing today, buddy?
Dan, I'm doing great. Unfortunately, I'm missing our buddy Shelby because he's out
Shelby
today.
Too.
Shelby had a prior engagement, so he's missing this week. So this is going to be a little intimate, little chat between me and Dan. But we have a lot of games and a lot of big games to talk about.
And Shelby, I feel your spirit in here.
I feel him too.
I smell it too.
He always smells so good.
He smells amazing. It's that Axe body wash or Axe body spray. So I smell you too, Shelby.
Yeah, that's a throwback to 15 years ago. All right, Dan.
Love you, Shelby.
So we're going to kick off this episode like I love to.
What you been playing?
What have you been playing, buddy?
All right, so I'm just going to do two games off the bat.
Okay.
Because we have a lot of new games to talk about.
We
so
do.
I'm just going to do a little housekeeping.
Okay.
So one, I just want to say Fire Emblem.
Yes.
I know it's taken a long time for me to get through it. It's a game I play with my sister, so we're both busy working in school, so we don't get to play that much. But we just got to the time skip.
Oh, you did? Nice.
35 hours in,
Mm-hmm.
we got to the time skip. We're in the Blue Lions house.
35 hours to get to the time skip?
35 hours to get the time skip for
wow.
Blue Lions. Now, so I have a question for you.
Yeah.
When you played it, did you I feel like you got through the game fairly quickly, and I feel like for me and my sister, the game's, and I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like we're just taking full advantage of everything possible. We're instructing manually. We're doing all the mini battles and stuff like that. So maybe it could have gotten quicker. Maybe I could have gotten to the time skip sooner, but we really kind of.
I think my guess would be that I do the battles quicker. That would be my guess, because I think a lot of that game, especially once you get through the beginning and then before the end, that whole middle 2/3 is pretty easy. So I often put my guys into danger just so that people can come and attack them, and then they'll die on the counterattack.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm pretty quick
Gotcha.
on the tactics.
So maybe it's just the
aspect of
learning
it.
curve.
That's what I'm assuming it is, because I really did do everything. I instructed manually. I did all the side stuff. On your days off when you're walking around, I
Go around the castle.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, so I'm enjoying it.
So what are you thinking? Yeah.
And the time skip. I feel like Game of the Year will spoil something.
Game of the Year, we're going to talk a lot about this game. I know that because we weren't really able to talk about any really real details.
So, I have a few questions, and maybe it's something that would be better left for, just because I know you did a different route. So, the way that my route's going, it portrays other houses in a negative light.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when we started, remember you saying the Blue Lions were portrayed in a negative light. So I'm curious, depending on what house, who's portrayed as the villains or the, you know what I mean? So it's
Definitely.
all about,
Well,
your
Dan,
vantage point.
how about this? I'm gonna give you a nice vagary philosophy.
Okay.
Do you want to maintain the status quo, or do you want to break down the infrastructure?
Break down the infrastructure. That's what I'm all about. That's my MO.
I don't know if the Blue Lions are all about that. That's all I'm gonna say.
I gotta say, the Blue Lions, they were going one way, and then after the time skip, you start to really see the real true heart of a lot of the people in the Blue Lions, and it's very scary. Actually, it's a little weird. It's like, oh my gosh, these people seem so squeaky clean, and now
isn't it so fucking cool to after the time skip to meet everyone again and be like, oh man, what have you been through? Look at
seriously,
what
no, that's exactly it. I mean, and there's always been some jerks in the Blue Lions.
Yes.
I mean, Ingrid's a jerk and Sylvain's a jerk.
Yeah,
but now you started to see some people that you were like, oh my gosh, you're one of my favorites, and now you really turned into something.
That's like Felix
different.
Felix did the opposite for me.
Yeah, Felix turns a little bit.
I didn't like him when they were younger. I was like, this guy's kind of got to stick up his butt.
Oh yeah.
And now he's really cool and wants vengeance.
He's seen things, yeah, for sure. So it's interesting. I like games that do that. I've really been enjoying this game. I'm hoping to finish it by Game of the Year. Can't guarantee nothing, but
of course, yeah.
At the time skip. So that's that, and just one more just to get it out. Still playing Dark Souls Remastered every chance I get. I'm up to Sen's Fortress, so I just beat Quelaag. So why that's a big deal for me is
that's where you left.
When I played Dark Souls the first time,
Yeah.
It was Quelaag ringing the second bell. That's as far as I got the first time playing it before other games.
But
came
now
out
you're a
stuff.
Bloodborne veteran.
I'm a Bloodborne veteran and a Sekiro veteran.
That's
so
right,
like now
that's right.
Dark Souls is like piece of cake. I'm loving it so much.
You get kind of, I feel like it would be natural that you're enjoying it more.
Oh, definitely.
And
because
you're like appreciating how it's different from those games,
Yeah.
but you can see where a lot of the ideas came from and stuff.
for sure, and like the frustration doesn't frustrate me the way that like it did the first time. Like the frustration's just like,
'Cause you've
okay,
been broken.
yeah, I know I gotta get better. I know I just gotta learn. I gotta be patient. But what is cool though, and the one thing that I really, when you're looking at Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and Sekiro, the differences in how you have to approach each game. So when I played Bloodborne, you learn that whole approach, and then you play Sekiro. And I was trying to play Sekiro like Bloodborne, and it's like, no, you got to play it like Sekiro. And then going to Dark Souls, I was trying to play it like Sekiro, but it's like, no, you got to play it like Dark Souls.
Yeah.
So it's awesome. This is one of those games that, I plan to finish. If I have like an hour of free time, let me just try to grind through an area. Do my best.
You're enjoying it though?
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it so much. I really do. Those from software games, I love all of them.
They're pretty
They
good
could all
games.
be up, top 10 greatest games ever. I love them that much.
Pretty good.
And as well, I remember when I first started playing Dark Souls, and you gave me the pitch, and I was so frustrated and angry at it.
I subjected you to something really rough.
But it's awesome. So I'm making progress. I'm older and wiser, and
That's right. Got a little more patience.
got a little more patience.
Yeah.
Beaten down by life a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's it, man. Yeah. So
all right, cool. So those are your little cleanups.
Those are my cleanups.
I'll do a cleanup too, and say I finished Disco Elysium.
Oh, okay.
I came out of that game. My thoughts, how I was, when I talked about it last time.
You loved it.
I still love it.
Okay.
Like I think it is I think this game is going to have ramifications in that isometric RPG like world. Like games coming, it's going to be like RPGs before Disco Elysium and RPGs after Disco Elysium, because they set the new bar for what storytelling in those games is and what choice is and freedom of characterization and the branching paths and the way they work are so brilliant, and they continue to be brilliant. And when you pair that with a well-written story, so there's a difference between a well-built world, and we'll get into this in a little bit, but there's a difference between a well-built world and good writing.
Mm-hmm.
And this game has both, like really, really well, and it's so funny because I've been, Sekiro came out early in the year. I was like, oh, how is anything going to beat it for Game of the Year? Right. Then Outer Wilds came out, and I fell in love with that game so much. If Outer Wilds, and I don't want to keep showing my hand here, but I can't help it. Outer Wilds, for me, is like a all-time top 5. It is that good for me. Mm-hmm. It struck a certain chord with me, and I was so obsessed with it. Disco Elysium would be that game where I'm like, wow, I can't believe this game overtook Sekiro for me. You know what I'm saying?
Game of the year? Would Disco Elysium be a game of all time the way that Outer Wilds
Right, so that's the difference.
Okay.
And I think a major issue that I have with it is I don't like the ending, and we'll talk about it in Game of the Year. I'm not going to spoil this now. It just came out a couple weeks ago. It was a very unsatisfying, not that I wanted resolution per se, not unsatisfying, I didn't get my resolution. Unsatisfying in that it continuously was surprising in the choices it was making and the different options it gave you. And then in the end, it didn't do that. Okay. It kind of reverted back to what a normal RPG would be.
So it's like dangling the cookie, the piece of cheese in front of you. And
but that's what it was. The whole game succeeded in that. Mm-hmm. And then literally the last half hour, it just kind of went down the hill, and
no multiple endings, sort of.
Well, it's not a matter of that really. I can't go into too much. I'm talking very frustratingly vague, I'm sure, but I was not pleased with the ending for very specific reasons as to why the entire game satisfied me so much, and then the ending didn't.
Okay.
And again, we'll dive into that in a lot more depth in come game of the year. But I still love the game. I still, as a whole, I still think this would be an easy game of the year contender if a certain game didn't come out.
What game is that?
And again, that's just for me. That's not me saying, hey, the Outer Wilds has to be our game of the year when Game of the Year comes out. But Outer Wilds struck me in a way that very few games in my life have. You know what I mean? So trying to compare other great games to it, for me personally, is like,
unfair.
Yeah, it's tough. You know,
Would Disco Elysium be a game of all time? The way that, so you didn't.
I wouldn't know yet. It didn't hit me in that
the
same
way that Outer
way.
Wilds did, because I'm telling you, know, just to bring Outer Wilds back in, I rewatched our playthrough of that, and man, I got choked up just the same amount of times as I did special.
It's special, man.
So
it's very special.
So I guess that my question was just if Disco Elysium had that same sort of punch.
So you can't.
Can't compare. I know it's a different
tonally.
thing.
It's completely different.
Yeah.
Like you can't even. Like how do you compare like things that are so tonally different? Like this punched me emotionally, but in different ways. You know what I mean? I think it's a fantastic game. Disco Elysium, I highly, highly recommend to anyone interested in that sort of thing. Again, it's like a isometric computer RPG. So if you like that at all, this is that without a combat system, which is pretty neat.
And from what you showed me, I mean, it looks awesome.
It's fantastic,
and the writing is great, and the dialogue and all the the permutations and stuff like that. How long did it take you to?
About 30 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's nice.
I've heard some people say it took them like 40 or 50. Again, that might just be they sought out every little thing. I did a lot of side stuff in that game, but maybe I missed a few things. I don't know.
How much does? I'm sorry.
How
much does your choices? So, because you mentioned the ending and you said how it kind of goes back to the RPG. How much do your choices like? So is what you're saying is that all the, because I remember you showing me there's so many different choices, there's so many dialogue options. You can just, you can be completely nuts. You can be, super diligent, whatever, but you get the same ending sort of thing. Like it's just the same sort of, they kind of funnel you into a.
Well, there's a mystery at the heart of the game. Mm-hmm. It's this person was murdered. Who were they murdered by?
Right. Okay.
You can't stray too far from that because it's a story they're telling.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So like, of course, the ending of that main through line will be the same for everybody. How you got there, who is there.
That's where the intrigue is.
Yes.
Okay.
And it does it very well. I'm not suggesting that like there's no payoff for all the choices that you made differently. Mm-hmm. I'm literally saying it turns itself into a different type of game.
Gotcha.
In a disappointing way, where all of a sudden it's more of like a by the numbers, like this isn't very surprising, whatever, when literally at every turn, every decision you make, you read your dialogue options and you're like, holy shit, like I can say that, or I can't believe someone would pick this, like that's kind of what this game is.
Yeah.
And so it's just, I don't know, I wasn't thrilled with the ending, but
okay.
Disco Elysium in general, I highly, highly recommend.
Awesome game.
I think it's $30 or $40 on Steam.
Cool.
Really, really recommend it. If you're into that sort of thing.
Yeah, man.
I'll mention another. Basically, we have 3 big games to talk about, and those are The Outer Worlds, Death Stranding, and Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. I'm going to save those 3 and we'll decide after, but I have 2 others that I'll talk about.
Okay.
One is I finally jumped into the Dark Pictures Anthology, Medan.
Ooh, tell me.
Which is the guys that made Until Dawn. Supermassive, I think is the studio.
Yeah, Supermassive game.
They made another one of those. I did not finish it yet. Me and Diana were playing it as like a Halloween type, it's a spooky story, and it's the thing that I'll say is I love Until Dawn. You listen to our last episode where we wanted that on our top 10.
Until Dawn's a great game.
Because it's really a great schlocky horror film.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And this game, I think, so Until Dawn came out, 2016 or
15,
17?
I believe, actually.
15?
15 that long ago. Let me double check, but keep going.
It feels exactly the same in the same frustrating aspects of it, like little graphical hitches and glitches and stuff like that, and it's just but the graphics don't look better.
15 super massive games. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like you expect that, like I see other AAA games. So I remember when, like, let's say games earlier in the generation when they came out and you're like, man, the graphics in that game. I think of even last year, God of War.
Right.
And we're saying, man, that game graphically is insane. Now I'm playing Death Stranding and Star Wars Jedi, and I'm like, wow, these look so much better than those games, right? So this game, it feels like it doesn't look good because it looks exactly like their previous game, which came out in
4 years ago. Yeah.
So it's a little frustrating because a lot of this game is based on that. You know what I mean? Like you're looking at these characters acting and quick time stuff. Yeah. And when I say it's the same game, it's the same game. It's literally like you're doing the quick time events, you're making choices that affect people living or dying or whatever. Like, and that's not a bad thing. Like I like this game. It's just not hitting as hard because it doesn't feel like they're doing anything new at all, even down to the literal way that it looks. You know what I'm saying?
What about how's the the characters and the story?
It's been good.
Like is it spooky? Does it have like that haunted house sort of feel?
Yes,
like
it's got the same feel of like this is like a cheesy haunted house, like scary story kind of thing. It's just not. I don't know. I haven't seen it all the way through. I think me and Dee have played like 2 or 3 hours.
Okay.
But basically, my feelings on it are, hey, it's another one of those. It doesn't come close to the same heights of when Until Dawn came out.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's just because you've seen it before now.
Like if Until Dawn came out today.
This happens sometimes where you get a sequel that might be better, but it feels like it's worse because it hasn't done enough to separate itself.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, this is an anthology series too, right? So they're going to release other...
So their plan, I think, these are a little bit smaller than Until Dawn. I think they're going to be like 6 to 8 hours. And they're going to release like one a year is their plan.
Okay.
So it's like an anthology. They show you the trappings of... Like, there's this guy that looks like he's going to be in all the stories. Okay. You know how, like, you go back to the therapist?
Oh, yeah.
In between? So
the guy from Fargo.
Yeah. So it's a different one. It's a different actor, and it's a different setting. But you go back to him, and it's, like, him in his, like, hallway that has, like, all these different paintings, and you go into one of the paintings, and that's where this story is.
It's like Night Gallery.
Yeah. Okay. It's like Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah.
So that's their idea. I love it. I think it's awesome. And the game is good. It's got an interesting story going on, and I enjoy it. It's not like when Until Dawn came out, I wanted to like tell everyone, play this game. This is awesome. And it's like for this one, I'm like, if you like this sort of stuff, play it. It'll be fun.
Would you tell people to play would you say like, just stick with Until Dawn? Like, is it one of those things where is Until Dawn a better game?
That's the interesting question is like, I can't really tell you that because if Until Dawn came out this year, would I be as high on Until Dawn?
That's the question, man.
And that's hard. I will say, as of right now, I'm only 2 or 3 hours in, I prefer the Until Dawn story and characters, personally. I like what they're doing in this, and it may pay off in the end, and I may really, really end up liking it. But right now, I'm like, this is good. I'm enjoying it. Nothing about it is, like, thrilling.
Did any of your characters die yet?
Not yet. We're doing pretty good.
All right.
Yeah. The other one on this list that's also a big game, but not one that I want to talk about that much because I haven't played any of the single player yet. That's Call of Duty.
Oh, you got it.
Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Yeah. So I got it because I wanted to see it through. I read enough about it where I was like, okay, I got to see it for myself. I want to see that single player story. Other things have been out. Outer Worlds came out.
Same day, right?
Yeah. So I've been really... This game for me has been, hey, I want to play an hour of multiplayer or something. Let me jump in and play. It feels great to play. They really upped the impact of the weaponry in a way that like Rainbow Six Siege or Counter-Strike feels impactful with each shot. You know what I mean? Like you feel it.
Ooh,
yeah. and it's really good, and I like it a lot.
But no story mode yet.
I haven't touched the story mode. That's why this isn't one that I'm like, all right, I really want to talk about it, because I need to see that story through, and then we'll really dig into it here. But I just wanted to mention that I have been playing it. I played maybe about 5 or 6 hours of online throughout the past couple weeks. It's fun to play. I really enjoy it. That's about all I have to say about it right now.
Because it seems like, speaking of story, it seems like Call of Duty lately, at least, has been really trying to up their, narrative game.
Yes. This game in particular, they are citing like a lot of Catherine Bigelow stuff. Like, they want to be the Hurt Locker. They want to be Zero Dark 30.
Yeah.
I haven't touched it, the single player. I've read about it. I haven't spoiled myself on it, but I've read enough about like what it's going for, and so I want to jump in and see for myself what it's all about.
Cool.
So once that happens, we'll sit down and talk about it. Probably on, well, I don't know, maybe not on the next episode, but the one after. We'll see. Definitely before Game of the Year. So
awesome, man.
Yeah.
Is this? Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say that's Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
Are we on to our big three now?
I think so.
I
now,
just wanted to ask one question.
Yeah.
I didn't play it. I was just curious if you heard anything about it, because it was a game that I was following and I just didn't get around to it. After Party.
Yeah, I have it downloaded.
Okay.
It's on Game Pass.
Okay.
So I have it downloaded, ready to go. Again, too many big things going on right now that are taking up a lot of my time. My goal, I have like a roadmap in my head. I want to finish Death Stranding. I want to finish Outer Worlds, and I want to finish Fallen Order before we do Game of the Year. And then I'll have like a week or two of like cleanup where I can do After Party. Right. I have a couple games on that list where I'm like, oh, I want to touch that. I want to do this. I'm also really nervous because a game called Phoenix Point. Have you heard of this?
No.
It's by the guy that made the original XCOM games.
Oh, dude, you'd love that.
He's making a game. He made a new studio. They're making a game.
That's got your.
It's
name
coming out first
it.
week of December.
Of course.
And it just seems mean to me.
Why this time
Feels
of year?
Personally,
I wish this was in summer.
This is a personal attack.
All in summer.
But we'll see. I mean, that might be. So Giant Bomb does a thing with their Game of the Year where they do, like, for example, this year we would do 2019's 2018 Game of the Year, where it's like either a game nobody played last year and then realized it was good, or a game that
we didn't get around to
because it was release late or whatever. Like, I think that's an interesting idea. We might have to steal that one.
All right, Giant Bomb. We'll give you the credit.
But we'll see. I mean, maybe I do end up getting to it. I don't know, or maybe it gets pushed.
So many games.
I have no idea. But yeah,
Doom,
all right.
Doom got pushed. Thank God. Can you imagine having to?
I mean, I really want to play that game, but shit, we have so many games right now. That would be next week.
Oh my gosh, too much. There's too much happening.
All right. So there's two Outer Worlds and Death Stranding. You finished Outer Worlds.
I finished Outer Worlds.
I have played like 30 hours of Death Stranding.
Okay.
So like we have a lot to dig into in those games.
So you want to talk
do
about Star Wars
first?
Yeah,
because it came out last night.
I haven't played it yet.
We're recording this Friday morning. So obviously most normal people haven't played it yet. I played it at midnight for about 3 hours. So the game is Star Wars Jedi : Fallen Order. I don't know why it's like that. It's not Star Wars : Jedi Fallen Order. It's Star Wars Jedi.
Star Wars Jedi. Is that like a new series? Star Wars Jedi.
That's what I'm wondering. So this game, I started it up, and right away, its inspirations are on its sleeve. No doubt about it. It's
a Star Wars.
It's
game?
an Uncharted.
Okay.
Uncharted opening sequence. Uncharted 15-minute sequence. It's what you would picture. They have a train that you're running through. Like it feels like an Uncharted game.
You're Nathan Drake.
Cool. Really cool. As you get into the combat, they do a good job tutorializing you. They walk you through how to do everything. Its other inspiration is very clear. Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Sekiro.
That's what I heard.
So each enemy has a stamina meter. Human enemies have stamina meters. Creature enemies don't. So the enemy stamina meter can be whittled down by regular attacks, similar to Sekiro, or you can parry it at the right time, and then you can do like a one-hit kill on a lot of enemies, again, similar to Sekiro. some of the enemies, some of the bigger types, will not die from one parry and then hit. So you might get like parry / with your lightsaber, and it'll be down to like half health, and then you got to do it again, right? You have Estus Flask equivalents. You start with 2 of them. Your little droid spits it out, grab it, inject yourself, and you heal. You have meditation points that you rest at, and your options are spend skill points, and there's a skill tree. So unlike Dark Souls, it's not attributes.
Okay.
It's a specific skill tree, so maybe more like Sekiro. You get like the force path, the defense path, or the lightsaber path.
Whoa, so you could do a game full force, just use the force?
So obviously, so you have the basics of everything, and then you're speccing in certain directions.
Okay.
So if you want to do force, it's like, all right, you get this upgrade, you get an extra little bar of force power. And then your next one is your force slow lasts an extra few seconds or something. Your other option at that meditation point is to rest. If you rest, you regain all your healing items, you regain all your health, and all the enemies respawn. It's one of those.
It's a Souls game.
And I actually really don't mind that it's like aping so much, because it seems really, really good. It's fluid. It's fun to play. The storytelling and the characters are awesome so far. Again,
Okay.
I played about 3 hours. I've gone to 3 different planets. I've heard there are about 5 or 6 planets. The final inspiration is Metroid. And I'm not just saying, like a lot of people say, oh, it's like Metroid where you need to get certain abilities to go somewhere. It's so Metroid that it has a 3D Metroid Prime style map where you can move it to see the different doors and different things.
Oh, wow. So you got to go to, but also is it where you got to go to a planet, get something to go back to? Okay.
So what's happening is, here's the perfect example. You start, so after the whole prologue thing, you go to a planet, and it's like your hub world planet, basically. You go there, there's a bunch of things to explore. It's very, it's non-linear in the way that it'll be like, ooh, there's 2 different paths. Which way do I go? And they'll lead you in totally different directions, but eventually, like, you'll open shortcuts, Dark Souls style, that will get you back to that main path to go forward. That after you do that little hub world, so you've seen maybe 50% of that hub world when it's time to move on. I went to the next planet. So there's one that's like, hey, here's your main objective, but you can also go to this other planet. I went to the other planet, got like 20% through, because it tells you on like the little map thing what percentage you've explored of the planet. So I think I'm like 20% through this one planet, and I got to a spot that you obviously need like a double jump or something for. I don't have it yet. I turned around, got back on the ship, went to the other world, and I've been exploring that world. So I assume I'm going to get some sort of ability there.
To go back.
Like it's that. It really is that.
Are you loving it though?
Yes, I am loving it. And the interesting thing is, like, I'm loving it more than I thought I would.
Oh,
like,
wow.
Because what I mean by that is, like, it's not a perfect combat system like a Dark Souls game is. Like, it's not. But it's everything about it is like pretty good. Like, there's not, like, it's not as good of an Uncharted game as Uncharted. It's not as good of a Dark Souls game as Dark Souls. The thing that I think it does better than a lot of games is its characters and animation and the like sense of, like, it is Star Wars. Like, it feels like a Star Wars property in the way that the characters are interesting and the locales are very interesting and beautiful and like different, and the enemies are very different. Like, that stuff is where it shines, and that's the stuff that, like, as you're completing things, you're just like have a smile on your face because you're like, man, look at this. Like, this is so cool. Like, it's just really a neat game, and I love it.
And it's all canon, if I'm correct,
yes.
right? Everything that happens.
So this is 4 or 5 years after Order 66. So if you know what that means, that's when after episode 3.
Okay, so it's before
all the
Skywalker.
Jedi.
Okay.
So it's before Rogue One.
Okay, gotcha.
Because it's after all the Jedi were like exterminated, right?
Okay.
Like that's the whole idea.
Oh, right.
Order
Palpatine,
66
right,
is where he went
and killed
all the Jedi, right?
Gotcha.
So you're a Jedi that was the apprentice of like a really higher up Jedi that was killed. You assume, I actually haven't seen it yet, but you're just seeing flashbacks.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like it doesn't seem like he's alive. And they just do a lot of cool things. It feels like a Spider-Man or Arkham in the presentation and like it's. I think Spider-Man's the best analog because as you're moving through this world and you're seeing different things pop off and you're like coming across people and being like surprised, oh my God, look, like it's that style of, hey, this is a cool action game that's like just fun to get around and do stuff, So I'm feeling like if the story ends up being a really great Star Wars story, then this is no longer I would say Spider-Man is like, hey, this is a great game, but it's not anything like too amazing. Like if the story ends up being as good as I think it might be, like this could separate itself from the pack of those type of games and actually be like a really amazing game. You know what I mean?
But I see what you're saying because I felt that way with Spider-Man, where it was like, man, Spider-Man was one of my top 10 games too, but it was just like, hey, it's just a lot of fun. You're playing Spider-Man, like that's cool, and I enjoy that.
And that's the feeling you get in this game. But then you see cutscenes and you see how well realized everything is. Mm-hmm. And like the care they put into everything, that I'm hopeful that their story is going to be more impactful than the Spider-Man story. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't mean to just compare one to one like that, but
right. But you know what? Because it makes sense though, because Spider-Man as a property, right? I mean, as a Spider-Man fan or a superhero fan, it's exciting because here's a well-known property, and like it's fun to be able to inhabit that world. And I'm playing as Spider-Man, so now I'm playing.
Look at this enemy.
I get to have a lightsaber, like that's awesome. I get to use a lightsaber and fight enemies. Yes. But right, I feel like part of it that's part of, for me, the appeal, as a game was like, oh, Star Wars game, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. But then you're right, to separate it as a game where it's like, imagine it wasn't Star Wars, it was this new thing.
And I actually have high hopes.
Cool. Oh, I want to get to it for sure.
And I just, like, little attention to detail stuff. I just love the way your little droid BD-1 moves around and like climbs on your shoulder and like he'll like run out to go scan something. Like, gorgeous game. Animation is amazing. Like when you're seeing, this has like the least uncanny valley, and I don't know if it's because you're dealing with a lot of non-human people, but like when the characters are acting in cutscenes, they're believable in the way that like a Ratchet and Clank like animation is like, oh man, like look at how great this looks. Yeah. That's what it feels like. It doesn't feel like a self-serious story where like everything, like someone's lips moves weird and then you're like taken out of it. Like, this just feels really good to be in. I love the exploration. I came across an optional boss. I stumbled into them. Guy with a health bar, named enemy. It was like a Dark Souls optional boss. And it's just cool, man. Like, it's just really fun to see that.
Is it open world? Like, is it?
So each world, each planet you go to, you can go wherever.
I know that's a loaded term. I just mean, like, can you?
Yeah, it's definitely not open world. Like, there are no side quests.
Okay.
There are no quest
But you can
givers.
explore. Okay.
But you explore in a Dark Souls way.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Like, you're walking around an environment, and then except for in this case, it's Metroid gated. So like you'll come across a door.
Can't get in.
So you literally come across doors that'll say this door is locked from the other side, which is a Dark Souls thing, obviously. But you'll also come across a double jump thing or a thing you need to force push down and you don't have force push yet. And on your map, this is a really cool thing, similar to what Resident Evil did earlier in the year. On your map, a door will be green, yellow, or red. A green door means you've already been through it. A yellow door means you haven't been through it, but you can get through it. A red door means you don't have the ability to get through it yet.
Okay.
and it's really smartly done,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of goofy, like pulling up your map, and it's like very video gamey, but it's really good. You know what I mean? Like it's
This
really
sounds
helpful.
awesome. I can't wait to get on this.
I think you're gonna love it.
Yeah.
I think it's a really well done game. My only qualm
Okay.
is that I hear bad things about the technical aspect of this game.
What are you playing it on?
I'm playing on PC. That's why I have not personally seen any frame rate issues or any jank. I haven't seen really anything. I haven't had a bug. I haven't had anything. So I can't really speak to that. I played 3 hours. I've read a lot about this game this morning, and people are really saying that it's really seriously bad. Now, you played Control on console when it came out, too,
Yeah,
right?
PS4, and I had a lot of issues as well.
I think it might be comparable to that.
But it didn't see. But that's the thing. Control was so intriguing and so unique to me that like that stuff. I've never been the guy that's been like, oh, does this run well? Does this look good? Like that doesn't bother me as much as it does other
Right.
people. But Control was intriguing. And there was moments where I played Control and the game would just freeze. And I'd be in the middle of something, and then I have to shut down my PlayStation just to restart it again.
Yeah.
So that, but that doesn't take away my love of the game.
I'm afraid that it might be a similar experience to you. And my only concern with this and that aspect is the fluid nature of your mobility and then going in and out of cutscenes smoothly. If it's hitching up and doing stuff, it might take away some of the like awe that I'm experiencing. You know what I mean?
Like if that happened, those sort of glitches and those sort of game crashes happen during like a Dark Souls,
Yeah.
I'd be very like frustrated.
Right.
Because like you're in the middle of.
So again, I haven't had a
$65 for nothing.
I haven't had a single bug, crash,
Yeah.
stutter, nothing. My game has run great the entire time. I've had no issues.
Mm-hmm.
I have heard other things, so I just wanted to mention it. It hasn't been my experience, but it is something that I've read about.
Cool.
So
not cool, but we appreciate that.
that is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
All right.
And I am excited to continue that game.
I'm excited to play that game.
So let's talk about Outer Worlds, Dan. I know you finished it, you said.
I finished it.
I played about 8 or 9 hours.
Okay.
Okay. I'll tell you exactly where I am.
Okay.
I did everything on the first planet. It's called like
Groundbreaker?
Groundbreaker, yes.
Okay.
Did everything there.
Okay.
Everything. Then I went to Rosewater.
Okay.
And I'm most of the way through that.
Okay. Gotcha.
And that's where I am.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I know I have a ways to go.
Yeah.
But
well, it depends how many side quests you do and how much.
Yeah, and I'm always. So we're going to talk about this game, and so we're going to talk about this game in general. But the thing that I want to say right off the bat is I really enjoy this game. I like the writing. The second Death Stranding came out, I realized that there's a reason why I'm playing Outer Worlds 20 minutes at a time and then being like, all right, I think I'm gonna go do something else, compared to Death Stranding, where I get stuck there for hours playing that game. And I don't want to jump too much into Death Stranding now, but I just want to mention that because that has been my experience with the Outer Worlds so far. And I don't have much to complain about having what I've seen. It's just not grabbing me. And now I'll let you talk more because you finished the game.
So it's so funny that you said that. So I made sure that I finished Outer Worlds before Death Stranding because I knew that Death Stranding was just going to take over like everything. And I've realized, so every point that you're making, I totally agree with. But, so this game, talking about, Jedi wearing its heart on his sleeve, this game, obviously, it was made by some of the developers of the first Fallouts and Fallout New Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
So it has that DNA of even games that I loved 10 years ago, Fallout 3 and Oblivion and Skyrim. I think I just realized that not that I don't like those games anymore, but they're just not my style of game. Yeah. Anymore. Maybe I don't know what that says about me, but I feel like I'm more of like a linear story guy now, and just the way that having all these okay, I need to go work on all these people's relationships. I need to go make money so that I can do this. And then, okay, we gotta go to this planet. It just, that sort of thing doesn't grab me anymore. And I don't know if that's just because, my life's changed. I got my own relationships and friends and school and work to worry about. But I really, really enjoyed The Outer Worlds. I think it took me maybe 35 hours to beat the whole thing. And I did a bunch of side quests. I really, really liked the characters. I think all the characters that you come across, very intriguing, very interesting. The writing was good. I liked the permutations. But the issue with the first world, I don't know how you played out the first world.
We can spoil that first world.
Yeah, that's okay.
It's literally like an hour or two.
Okay.
You're done with that world. It's not bad.
All right, so full on spoiler.
Yeah, we'll talk completely about that first world, just so you guys know.
Okay, so this was maybe my favorite part of the whole game. And then nothing else lived up to that. Okay. So you go to this place called Edgewater.
Yeah.
And it's this, it's like a fish cannery town. It's run by this guy. He's just a real dirtbag. He, he treats his workers like crap, but, it's all for the benefit of, the community. And, he makes this amazing product, but yet this product is making everyone sick. It's just a really, really bad situation. So there was a group of people outside the town that used to work in the town.
Yeah.
And they're kind of like a hippie commune. They grow their own herbs and everything like that, but they're butting heads with Edgewater. So you have a choice where you have to take a power source.
Yeah, so in order to power your ship to get off the planet, you need to
either take it away from Edgewater, the corrupt city, or I forget the name of the
I don't remember
the commune, or take the power away from the commune, right? So here I am. I'm like, man, like I really like this commune is awesome. Like they're super nice to each other. That they help each other out. I don't like this dirtbag who's running this town. I don't want him to to get his way and take more advantage of his population. So I have Parvati as my companion. Parvati. Did I say it wrong?
That's all right.
Parvati. So I go to the main hub where I have a choice. Who are you going to take the power away from? So I already have it in my head. I'm going to make sure that, the hippie commune gets their power. And as I'm about to do that, my companion turns and says, hey, like, listen, like, I know Edgewater's a bad, place. I really don't like the guy who runs it, but, there's a lot of good people who live in that town. And, I really don't think that you should, she just gave a very convincing, compelling argument. She said, maybe, you could talk to the commune and maybe have, work something out. So I go, all right, maybe I'll make sure that the people in Edgewater are okay. And then I'll talk to the people in the commune and maybe we can get something to get worked out. So, I give the power to Edgewater. Still like, oh man, that's such a gray area. What do you do? So I go to the commune and I talk to the head there. I forget her name too. It's now all escaping me. But, she's angry at me. She's like, how dare you do this? You're taking, our life source away. You're just leaving us here to die. So I'm like, how am I going to figure this out? So I made it so that I went back to Edgewater. I talked to the head guy there, and I convinced him to leave and put the woman who was in head of the commune in charge of Edgewater. And she did, and the bad guy left. The good guy came in. She took care of the town. Everybody was fed. Everybody was healthy again. And everything was amazing. And I really, really liked that permutation. How, like, at first I was like, man, am I doing the right thing? Is one person going to be destitute? But being able to converse and persuade people enough to create a situation that benefits everybody. Like, I really like that. That, to me, is, like, an interesting...
It is interesting. Have you gone back?
Yeah, and Edgewater was amazing. Like,
doing good?
Everybody was... So there was a whole sick ward once that woman came to power. Everybody was healthy again.
What are they canning now?
There's no canning. It's all just growing.
Farming?
They're farming, growing herbs, everything like that. Everybody's healthy. The whole town was, thriving.
That's great.
So that was awesome. So I really liked how, at first you're given like a black and white decision.
So what did the guy say?
But you were able to work in the gray.
What did the boss say when you went over to him and was like, hey.
So at first, like, you had to just do a lot of convincing. So I made sure I wanted to play this game as, as little combat as possible. I'm just going to try to persuade, intimidate, or lie my way through everything and just build certain situations. So my first thing I did when I got skill points was just, persuade.
Right,
intimidate.
I did the same thing.
So yeah, at first he was totally against it. He was like, no, I'm not going to, this town needs me. This is everything. And I was just able to persuade him enough to leave. And he voluntarily left. And the head of the commune came to power. And
so the interesting thing for me, so that town, Edgewater, is like this hyper-capitalist state where like everyone's working for the company, everyone's like literal property of the company. There's a little side thing that where someone says like, oh, so and so committed suicide, and technically that's damage to company property, so he owes a ton of money, like whatever. So it's going for obviously cartoonish hyper-capitalism, but it's saying something, obviously, right? The problem that I had was I did almost the exact opposite, where I gave power to the commune.
Okay.
And then I went and talked to her, and I said, hey, everything's going to be all right, right? Like, you're going to let these abandoned people, whatever, come into town. And she's like, yeah, we the more the merrier, like, we need hands, whatever. I was like, great. I went over, the guy was pissed. I convinced him to not have his guards shoot me or whatever, and I left. I go back to the commune hours later, and it turns out she just like closed her doors to everybody and was like, we don't have space for everyone, like blah, blah, whatever.
Whoa.
Yeah, and I felt really bad about my choice. And it's the interesting thing is, so when you talk about a game, I think about similar things when I think about Disco Elysium, right? When you talk about a game that wants you to have the freedom of different choices, usually they skew towards a certain, as their own mental, all right, this is the altruistic, this is the actual right way to play, right? So I'm interested in what that must say about what these people are thinking if me powering the commune and then her saying to me that she's going to let people in
and then
not letting people in, I'm kind of like, are we that cynical?
Wow.
Like, is that what's happening here?
That's so interesting.
Yeah, because I would not have expected that I could go get rid of Reese or whatever his name is. Isn't it Reese?
Oh, Reese. Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't have thought that I could go there after I provided him with power and say, hey, why don't you step down and we'll let let this person in. Grace? No.
Great. Was that her name?
I don't know.
Grace?
I don't know.
I don't know. She had gray hair.
These are just coming to me.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. But yeah. No, it was thanks to my companion.
Because basically Parvati said to me, same thing.
She said the same thing. Okay.
Yeah, but
how did you respond to Parvati?
So I just didn't agree with her. Like, I was kind of like, yeah, I get what you're saying, but we need to break down the structure in order to rebuild it. Like, I'm not going to allow them, because in my head I was like, if I provide them with the power,
right,
they're just going to keep. They can say whatever they want, but they're going to keep the status quo going. And I remember being like, I appreciate what you're saying. You're speaking more from your personal emotions than actual, radicalism that needs to happen.
Right.
So I turned it, and she's like, man, that was a tough choice, but, I'm sure you did the right thing for you, whatever. And then it turns out I'm supposed to feel bad about what I did. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, well, see, like I said, it all worked out for me perfectly. Like, it really just, like, the best situation possible. Like, we got rid of this dirtbag, and everybody was healthy.
So I also realized that he has, like, the dirtbag nature of, like, a local, like, congressman or something, where, like, he doesn't really have a lot of power.
No, but he's like the face of
exactly
Saltuna, was it? Yeah,
Saltuna. But what he really has is nothing. Mm-hmm. He just has the power over the immediate people there.
Right.
If his higher up said, "Hey, you're closed. That's it," then he would just leave. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I didn't necessarily think that he himself was this evil, whatever. Not that I'm like sympathizing with him, but I'm saying like I wouldn't have been like, hey, we got to take down this leader, because guess what? They're just going to send another guy just like him to take his spot.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
once.
So that's why I'm interested in.
Yeah.
So was there any dialogue about like, did Spacer's Choice like cut off?
So I don't want to spoil the ending.
Yeah.
So
don't spoil that, but let me talk then, because I haven't seen it.
Okay.
What I'll say is, what I would assume would happen is, if I did that and sent that commune leader to take over that town, I would have thought that Spacer's Choice would kind of abandon it. Whoever gets left behind, this is what I would think. Whoever gets left behind makes the choice of, okay, either I go with Reese to go do whatever Spacer's Choice wants from there, or I'm going to live at this commune as a hippie now and abandon my post as a Spacer's Choice employee. That's what I would assume. I cannot envision Spacer's Choice being okay with this new style of agriculture.
I'll have you know, Edgewater, I beat the game. Edgewater is great. Edgewater's doing better than
that's why
ever. They ended in a very New Vegas way. I'll put it this way, where they should. I don't think this is a spoiler or anything. They ended New Vegas way, where like you get like a snapshot of each town and each person that you've come across, and it gives you a little epilogue on how they, how they're doing, how the town's doing. Apparently, I'm just so smart. I made the best choice possible.
I guess so.
Well, I guess it was a utilitarian choice. It was the way to benefit the most number of people.
Yes.
But you're right. I mean, I guess I don't know what my line of thinking was. I'm gonna listen to Pravati,
because she probably knows better than me.
Because she worked with him.
Yeah.
So maybe together we can convince him to. Because the way that this game was sold to me and why I was so excited for it was that you could play this game purely and you can't to the craziest extent, but this is a game where you can talk your way out of anything. So I said, that sounds awesome. I should be able to, because that was my biggest gripe with like a Skyrim or Oblivion, right? Like I hated how I just had to go kill everything just to like, change something.
Right,
so I was like, I'm really excited to play a game where I can persuade my way through things. And it worked in this case. But so cool. To bring it full circle, to me, that was my favorite mission of the entire game. That was the most interesting mission, my opinion, of the entire game.
The way it turned out for you, I would agree. My resolution didn't feel as satisfying, so the choice, in retrospect, didn't feel as interesting.
Gotcha.
It sounds very interesting.
So there's other towns that you go to. You're in one right now where and it becomes a side quest where there's two factions, fighting against each other. There's two guys, they were friends, and now, and there's a way to resolve it. There's a way to choose just one side and stuff like that. I don't know. The first, for me, that was like the selling point of the game.
High watermark.
Everything, that was like everything other than that just seemed more. And it was good, and I enjoyed my time with Outer Worlds.
Variations on a theme.
It became very, okay, we're doing the same thing again and again and again. And all the side quests became that way too, where you make friends with companions, and then they each have something that they want from you. Yeah. And you do it.
How have you felt about those in general? Are the side quests and how they resolve interesting for the companions?
So again, I think this says more about me as my taste in video games now. 10 years ago, I would have loved like that stuff. I was like, oh man, like no problem. Like Pravati, like she has feelings for I forget Juné, and so there's a whole quest line where you're getting things. You're talking to her. How do you ask her out on a date? You want some cookies to bring on a date and stuff like that. So there's like that stuff, and like it's fun, and I enjoyed it, and it feels good. I'd be happy to help my companions. But it also like kind of felt like a little filler-ish where there's another quest too. You meet every companion has a quest line where it just, okay, can we go talk to this person? Yeah. Okay, let's go talk to them back at the ship. Okay, now can we do this? Right. And then go back to the person. It kind of felt more filler than it did.
It's very old school game design. It actually is like a computer RPG game design. That's where their bread and butter is. That's the original Fallout. So the reason that this game was more interesting to me after being not thrilled with Fallout 4 is the smaller scope. So, there's a lot to do. You said it took you 35 hours. but you did like everything,
Mm-hmm.
and it took you 35 hours.
Right.
If you did everything in one of those other games, it'd be 100-something hours.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not these big sprawling world. Each world that you go to is pretty tight.
Yeah.
Like you can walk from one end to the other in about 5 minutes real time.
Right.
You know what I mean? In the biggest planets.
Mm-hmm.
So that is like a big time selling point for me in a lot of ways. I just wish that it was grabbing me more, and I can't really put my finger on exactly why it's not.
Yeah.
Because the pitch of, hey, this is Mass Effect meets Fallout is a great pitch, you know, and all the writing's good.
And that's the thing too. The writing is really good. The characters are really believable. Pavardi's amazing. Like I love her character. She's my favorite companion. She was the one that I had from the beginning, and she was with me through every mission.
Yeah.
I love her dialogue. I love her personal quest and stuff like that. Like it's a lot of fun, and it's really good. The writing.
I think the acting is good too.
The acting's great. Acting's great. It's a really good game. Yeah. And that's how, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a really good game, and I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I got through the end. I don't know. It was just, it kind of went from, all the way up to, as high as it could go. I'm like, awesome. And it just slowly, like, left me wanting to get back to that high. Getting to the ending itself seemed very anticlimactic because there was never. So. I'm just drawing a blank. Who's the guy that wakes you up from the... Phineas, thank you. I was going to say Phyllis. Phineas. Thank you.
My man Phyllis.
So Phineas, I don't think that's a spoiler. You can either choose to help him.
Yeah, so right away, you can turn Phineas in.
Right, and that opens up a whole new quest line. So I went the quest line where you help him.
Yes.
And there wasn't really any twists and turns. It kind of all went the way that you'd expect the game to go and the story to go. And I know that's a bad thing, but there was never any of the moments where like something really weird happened or something really satisfying happened. It just was kind of felt filler, but not terribly. It was a good game. And that's kind of my, my piece on it. Like, I really enjoyed my time with it. Maybe 10 years ago, I would have loved this game. This would have been my favorite game ever. I just think, in a time where a lot of games are just mimics of other games, and it just kind of seems kind of oversaturated with just, okay, let's just throw in a bunch of quests. Let's, here's more story, here's more characters. It wasn't, you said it yourself, grabbing enough for me to be like, oh, this is one of the best games of the year, let alone best games of all time. Right. But it was a good game, and I enjoyed my time with it.
All right, cool. I'm definitely going to finish it. Like I said, once Death Stranding came out, I put this game down, and I haven't had the motivation to go back. Mm-hmm. So let's jump right into it.
Okay, let's talk about the game.
Before we get too far into it, how many hours do you think you're in?
Not crazy, man. Maybe 10, 12.
Are you in chapter 3 yet?
No, I'm right at the
you're on the last quest of chapter 2.
2 is long, man.
So something I'm going to tell you, people out there, if you have not started this game yet, don't do side things in chapter 2.
Oh, that's all I'm doing.
Get to chapter 3 as fast as you can. Like, do all the main stuff. Get to chapter 3, because once you get to chapter 3, this game becomes a really fucking fun, awesome game. And there's a lot to talk about with this game, and we will talk about it. But right off the bat, I'm going to tell you, I love this game, and not for the reasons I thought I was going to love this game.
Okay.
I was going into it for a Kojima-ass story that I was like, I'll get through the boring gameplay and play the story and whatever. And it's totally the opposite. I love the actual moment to moment. Is something so satisfying about bringing packages to these different places. And once you get to chapter 3, I'm going to talk to you about what it is. And it's not spoilers because it's mechanical things. Mm-hmm. You're building infrastructure. So you're actually putting in materials into these auto pavers, which build roads that allow you to traverse the land more easily.
Okay. Like I built a few bridges already, and
these are like full on. You put your things into auto pavers, and it builds a stretch of road. And then the next auto paver, you put your materials in, and it builds the next stretch of road. Other places, I'm jumping ahead here, but I just want you to know, like, the gameplay loop for me is so fun and satisfying, and like there's so many tense moments of like, I have too much stuff on, I gotta cross this water, my stamina's running out. But like, it sounds so silly and it sounds so monotonous, but I love it. Like, I absolutely love it. I think it is awesome. And the stuff that I don't like is that Kojima is not a good writer at all.
I know, isn't that weird too? Like, it's...
But the reason, we're going to go back and talk from the beginning of this game, but...
There's a lot to talk about with this game.
The thing that I'll say is Kojima is a great world builder. Mm-hmm. Fantastic. He's an ideas man. Whoever lets him write is wrong about what they're doing, because...
I feel like he's like an M. Night Shyamalan.
It could be. I really just genuinely think, let him come up with ideas... And then let somebody that's good at writing, like, say, "Oh, I love that. Let me take that idea and run with it." Because
Kojima and Naughty Dog. Let's combine
exactly.
that.
But that's exactly it. Is like, make it. We have stuff to talk about. Basically, the beginning of the game. What I'm going to say is, the premise of this game, if you haven't seen anything, is there was something called the Death Stranding, which was the world of the dead to the world of the living, right? Mm-hmm. And what happens is these BTs, as they're called, these beach things, which is what BT stands for, come through the world of the dead into the world of the living, and if they make contact
they're going with them.
With a living person, you explode like a nuclear explosion. Mm-hmm. So... what happens is, so this manifests itself in dead people on Earth. Before they get to the other side is when that explosion happens. So they do a really great job of setting it up. I think the first 2 hours of this game are actually like really interesting, pull you into the story. It's a lot of cutscenes, but it gives you an idea of, okay, someone died, and we need to go to the incinerator and burn this body as soon as possible, because once they get necrotic and start to go to the other side, there's going to be an explosion. It's going to kill us all, right? So the setup is excellent.
Oh, yeah.
I love the way...
the world that they created.
The silly melodramatic tone. I love it. What I don't love is... that the president's name is Samantha America Strand. That's the name. Your name is Sam Porter Bridges, and you work for a company called Bridges that you did not create, nor did your family.
Oh, you know, like Die Hard Man and Dead Man and
Heartman. Listen, there's room for that.
It's Kojima.
But here's what I'm going to say. There's room for that in the right story. He's not trying to tell that story anymore.
He's trying to tell a serious...
He's not trying to tell that story anymore. In Metal Gear,
he was great,
trying to tell that story.
Decoy Octopus.
Because that's the point of that. He's not doing that anymore. So now the question is, was he ever doing it on purpose? Or did he just happen to make something that was really interesting? Yeah. So it's just so strange to me, because everything from... I've been like writing little notes about this game as I go. The Monster Energy stuff.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
like just
that's your fuel. That's your health. That's like your.
So your canteen in world, your canteen, as you fill it, the canteen transforms water into Monster Energy so that you can drink it to refill your stamina. On top of that, whenever you're in these quote unquote private rooms, they're called.
There's a huge can.
There's just there's like 6 cans, and you can just drink them to fill up your energy. Whenever you take a shower, or actually whenever you poop.
Norman Reedus, Walking Dead. Like.
It's not Walking Dead. It's a new show he has on AMC called like Ride, and it's like an advertisement for it. And it's like, that shit is actually really funny if it was in the right game.
Yeah.
Like if he was actually making that game, I'm all for it.
Well, even like when you go to the mirror and you can do like silly faces and take pictures, like sticks his tongue out and you can take a picture. Like,
and it's like,
here's your sunglasses. Change the color if you'd like. Like it's like silly stuff like that.
But what he wants, and you know that if you know Kojima, you know, like I follow him on Twitter. What he loves is really serious, self-serious stories. Like he loves the Joker, the movie. And he wants. Right,
isn't like 2001: The Space Odyssey like his favorite movie ever? Like,
but like he has this idea in his head that he's gonna create something like that. But then he has all the nonsense around, and it's like if you're doing it and you're pairing it with the right kind of story, that shit is awesome.
Right, that stuff in Metal Gear, like all when Johnny Sasaki, has a bowel movement, that stuff is like so great because it's so
it fits in with the cheesy action that's going on. You know what I mean?
Right.
This is what makes it so. I'm not going to talk specifics about story until we're deeper in and we do Game of the Year, or if you get through it and we do a spoiler cast, whatever. But what I'm going to say is, there are constantly things that he tries to do that are really dark or really unnerving and strange, and he's just terrible at it. Like, he cannot stick the landing at all. And it makes it obvious that he is a creep, actually. Like, it's obvious.
Yeah.
So
but we knew
so
that.
we knew that, but what I'm saying is it matched what was going on, right? In an action movie, you would have that interaction with the woman, like in Metal Gear Solid 3 with whatever her name was. You know what I'm saying? Because that's an action movie. Like, that's how it is. So he's playing with the trope there, or so we thought. This is what I'm saying. So I'm actually having like a existential moment here where it's like,
Kojima's actually a dirtbag.
He's actually a creep. Like, he actually is. And we'll get, again, I want to get into it at some point. Let's just say the character named Mama talks about her milk coming in a lot. And it's like, what are we doing exactly? Because, like, he has some sort, like, he's just, like, bearing all his weird, like,
fantasies.
Kinks and psychological issues for the world to see. And he thinks he's making some sort of art. And it just makes me angry because there are interesting things to the story here. And I'm not just saying, like I said in the beginning, he's a great world builder. He's terrible at writing dialogue. That is true throughout from the 30 hours I've played. But his world building sometimes goes along with what the actual writing and the plot line is, and I like it. So that's what's frustrating to me.
It gets clogged up every now and then.
And it's like, it's a game that I love, and I will tell everyone that I love this game, but it's a game that frustrates the shit out of me. The more I see of the actual
those moments,
cutscenes, the more I am like, oh my God, what the fuck? And it sucks. It just sucks. So let me say the actual game, now that we're talking a little more, now that we've like kind of prefaced this whole thing. So my favorite part of the game, like I said, when you get into chapter 3 and you start to get different modes of transportation, you start to get different ways of sending things across. You're making these roads.
Right. It's a game about connection.
So he calls it a strand game because and this is where it shines, though. This is what I'm talking about, where his idea of the connections is awesome, because literally you see it now in chapter 2. You see a path that you walked, and if more people walk that path, not only does there actually a footpath, like more people online walk that path, you get like a footpath, but it'll literally break down rocks on that path.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's amazing. It's such a smart idea. I love it.
Also adding, ladders places or,
and ropes to get down.
Oh, I didn't put that there, but some player, somewhere else,
And that shit is awesome.
I love the idea of
gets better and better as you go on, because I'm telling you, when you get to like the auto pavers where you're building roads and you all of a sudden you'll come to an auto paver and they take a lot of resources to get. So like you gotta go in the mule camps and steal resources and go to your, level up your relationship with the different way stations so that you can borrow resources from them. when you're doing all that, it's a lot. It's a lot of resources it takes, but all of a sudden you'll stumble across and you're like, all right, I need a lot for this. And then you'll see someone almost already finished it.
Yeah.
Like, awesome. Like, this is almost done because we're all working together to do this. And it's so, so cool.
That's the pitch, I think. That's the talk about positive interaction, like positive gameplay.
Yes.
Like, that stuff.
It's great.
Is where it's A+.
It's great. And when you pair that with the fact that I love the moments, like, there is something so satisfying. The way they trickle out the different upgrades and the different new equipment you get, and like I'm telling you, different modes of transportation. Like, you're not always on roads. You get other things. You get like other ways to get around, and it's fucking awesome.
Yeah, and especially when the music kicks in, it's just you and the environment. Like those moments,
so good.
It makes you realize that it's a whole different experience than what we're used to. It's definitely its own experience. But you're right. I think the clogs.
He couldn't help himself. Like, that is such a good idea for a game. And the thing about it is, I like the pacing of it so far. Mm-hmm. If the cutscenes were good, 6.
6, okay.
But the way the chapters work are so weird. I'll explain it to you. But the way the cutscenes are interspliced every once in a while, and the way things happen, and you're like, oh, I got to go do this now. It's very well paced. If the cutscenes were actually good, then I would be like beating the drum so hard because it's such a great experience. Mm-hmm. And it just gets more and more frustrating the more I see of the story. I will say, in typical Kojima fashion, he does interesting things, like you put your birthday in the beginning of the game. So it was just my birthday yesterday, and Dan, your birthday's coming up.
Yeah.
On my birthday, you know how you get the cutscenes with the BB when you plug it in? Mads Mikkelsen. Mm-hmm. So he walks in. I'm gonna spoil this because it's hilarious. He walks in and he's got flowers and he's looking at the BB and he's like, "Do you know what day it is today?" And then he's like, "Is it Mama's birthday?" And he goes, "No." He goes, "BB, is it your birthday?" He goes, "No, but it is a very special day." And then literally he picks up the camera like it's a fucking GoPro that's been sitting inside this BB tank, and he picks it up and he walks across the room and he goes, "You think I forgot?" He's like, "Happy birthday," and he holds the flowers out to you.
It's like, that stuff I love. Like, that's
so
awesome.
But it's like, man, like, why do we need these overwrought cutscenes that are trying to be so good and melodramatic, and they're so terrible, and all the visual design, all the sound design, the way everything looks, the way the people look, the way the environment, the monsters look, I love it all.
Yeah.
I love it all. It's literally just the actual dialogue that human beings are speaking to each other. Because if you read the emails, they're well written.
Oh my gosh, those are so good.
But they're great. Why can't who wrote those emails that should be writing the cutscenes? Because this is what I'm saying. Like, it's a game I love, and it most certainly will be on my top 10 of the year unless something happens in the last 15 hours that I don't expect. But it's a game that should have been one of my favorites.
This is a game that should have been maybe,
it should have been one of my favorite games
ever.
And it's frustrating because there's so much to love, and there's just so much to dislike too. Like, yeah, I mean, there's really the mama thing, and there's something with Fragile that I'll explain.
that whole freaking.
So the difference is, honestly, the difference between this game and a lot of other Kojima games is that the female character, there are a lot of female characters, mm-hmm. and they're actually good characters. Like, they're not, like, Fragile is a good character. I know her name's Fragile, whatever, but she runs Fragile Express. It's her own company. She's the head of the company. Like, she's awesome. Until you learn about this whole thing that you haven't seen yet, that's like, it's not a bad idea. It's just terribly written, and my eyes rolled back into my head for 10 seconds when a certain line was delivered.
It's like David Cage, where it's just like you're trying to be super self-serious, and you're taking a very, very serious, serious theme here that really affects real people, and then you kind of play with it just because you think you're being edgy.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's offensive.
That's exactly what it is.
It's exploitative.
And he has no idea how to do it. He has no idea how to handle it with any grace at all. And it's.
But in a way, and I don't know Kojima personally, but I wonder how much it is. I'm going to push the envelope. I'm going to be exploitative. I'm going to be edgy, and that could be detrimental to a lot of people.
I think he wants so badly to be like the
guy wants to be a movie director for sure.
His movies would be terrible.
He wants to be Kubrick.
Do you know that?
He wants to be Kubrick.
But he doesn't know how to write.
Yeah, no.
He doesn't. He has fantastic ideas. I keep saying it because I mean it. He has great ideas. Mm-hmm. This game is full of great ideas. Game design ideas and world building ideas. He is excellent at that. If he had an actual writer that knew how to write dialogue, that will come in and do that. I was talking to my friend Ozzy the other day, and I was like, do you think when these actors come in, like Margaret Qualley is Mama, right? Mm-hmm. She was the daughter in Leftovers. Like, she's a great actress. The shit that he makes her say, like, does she not sit there and say, like, is this guy a fucking weirdo? Like, I'm not doing this. Like, why do they all love him? And I think I know why. Because he pitches them the big idea instead of here's my script.
Hey, you're going to have to say this.
You get what I'm saying, though?
Yeah.
Like, because it is a great idea. So when he comes to Guillermo del Toro and says, here's my idea for a game, and starts talking
this
about
sounds amazing. Yeah.
He's going to be like, I want in. That's amazing.
Yeah, that sounds like it's going to be groundbreaking. And it is for the reasons it's groundbreaking for the reasons that you said. You're absolutely right. When it comes to world building, when it comes to, game design, like, that's really cool. I've never played a game like it.
Yeah,
and I think you're absolutely right. See, those things bother me with Metal Gear too.
Yeah,
and you're right. In Metal Gear, it's like, okay, it's an action, but still, it bothers me because it's just like
unnecessary.
It's so unnecessary.
I always took it when I was experiencing Metal Gear. I always took it initially as a critiquing homage to an action movie genre, where he loves it, but he has to show the shitty parts too, because that's what it is. It's the truth. Mm-hmm. And so I always thought that. And now that this game is out,
like, no, he's actually,
I'm like, no,
he loves it.
This is him.
This is his.
That was his whole ass.
This is
he was
fantasy.
Showing us.
Yeah,
that was his whole entire ass. I just don't.
I know that stuff's really frustrating.
It's frustrating, but
it is stuff like that holds back what a great game it could be.
Yeah. I still really love this game. It comes with a ton of qualifications, obviously, but I cannot overemphasize how satisfying this is. And there are some people, this is how I would describe it. Ready? You hear a lot of people, this is a very divisive game. People love it, people hate it.
Oh, yeah, of course.
The people that hate it.
To be expected from a game
but
like
what I'm
this.
going to say is the people that hate it, I think, don't find the gameplay satisfying or enjoyable. Mm-hmm. So then it's so much easier to say, and look at what a terrible writer he is. This game fucking sucks. So I get it. Like, I'm not arguing that. But for me, it's like, I love so many things about this game, including the moment-to-moment gameplay, that I'm looking past the stuff I don't like.
Right.
And I'm not giving it a pass, but I'm able to say, as a whole, I really enjoy this game, despite it. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
So I'm sure there are some people that don't mind the lunar narrative dissonance between, the game that we're actually playing and then the story he's trying to tell in the cutscenes. I mean, it's like two different experiences, really. But to some people, that's probably not an issue. Like I said, I cannot imagine this is not going to be on my top 10 games of the year. But I still have quite a few hours to go.
Yeah. It's a long game.
I will say also, I mentioned that I was on chapter 6. The way that it works is like chapter 2 is like,
I feel like I've been in chapter 2. I feel
chapter
like
2 is like 8 to 10 hours. Chapter 3 is like 15 to 20 hours.
Oh, wow.
And then chapter 4 is an hour. Chapter 5 is an hour. Chapter 6
wow. Okay.
So
I feel like I've been in 2 for a long time. And part of me was like, man, if this game is just this, I'm just kind of like...
Now, it is so important for me to say that to you. I wish the game would tell you this. Chapter 2, while I was sold on it in that moment, I was sold on it with the expectation that things are going to advance and change, and they do. So what I'm saying is like mainline Chapter 2, and then when you're in Chapter 3, take your time, do everything. Because guess what? You can end up going back to that first area while you're in Chapter 3. Now you have all these new things at your disposal.
I wonder how much though. Seriously, I'm still in it. I'm not. I want to see where it goes. I wasn't planning on stopping, but I wonder how many people do get stuck in Chapter 2 and just go like, all right, this is the game.
I think that's a lot of people.
I'm gonna go take it back to GameStop. You know what I mean? Like I think,
especially because that last quest wants you to go from one corner to the other corner.
Oh yeah.
So it's a big ask.
Well, it's constantly go back, then go back, and then go back, and then go back, and it's just, So I could see a lot of people giving up at that point.
Yes, I mean, me too. Me too. I could see it. I have a lot of good things to say about this game. I think it does. It sets you up for stories to tell about your journeys, which I think is the crux of a game that is particularly suited to me. Like, I love that shit. Mm-hmm. I love Breath of the Wild. I love Outer Wilds. I love this. It has that same feeling of like, and then this happened, and I went here, and then there was a BT, and thank God I had this hematic grenade, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it takes you through this journey that isn't that main story.
Right.
So it's like, it constantly feels like I'm putting up with the bullshit just to enjoy the game that I really enjoy.
Right.
And what I will say is, it's not coincidental that Chapter 3 has been by far my favorite, and it has the fewest amount of cutscenes. But it is the majority of the game from what I understand. So enjoy it while you're there. There's a lot of upgrades and interesting new equipment you get, and it's really cool, man. It's really, really a cool thing. And when you pair in all the online interactions with other people and stuff,
I love that stuff.
I think it's so cool. Yeah.
But freaking Kojima.
Yep. Death Stranding. I can't wait till I'm done and I can talk about it, because I'm itching to talk about specifics, but I'm also itching to see how it wraps up, because I know there's got to be Kojima time in the end. There's got to be like 3 hours straight of cutscenes, right?
It's Kojima.
But
hey.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you, Daniel.
Well, that's going to do it for the podcast. Thanks, Dan, for being here.
Thanks for having me, bud, as always.
Got it. And thank you guys so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode. And until next time, peace. Hey, everyone. Thanks so much for watching and or listening. Just here to remind you that you can find us by searching for Circle Back Podcast or Circle Back Gaming on any of these podcast services: Anchor, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, or Stitcher. By God, I'm out of breath because of all these podcast services, but you can find us anywhere there. Also, you can find our video version on YouTube by searching Circle Back Podcast or Circle Back Gaming, and the rest of the videos we do. Thanks, guys.